It has been 1 year since the initiation of the latest genocidal actions of Israel and the United States against the Palestinian people. 1 year since October 7. 1 year of massacres, slaughters, mass bombings, the targets of which are overwhelmingly children. Death at the hands of the Middle East's most moral army, quote-unquote, the Middle East's only, quote-unquote, democracy. A puppet government funded by the United States. 1 year of condemnation from the international community of the actions of the Israeli terrorist organization of the Israel Defense Force, or more accurately known as the Israel Occupational Force. Figures and statistics used in this video today come from personal research, as well as a pamphlet and fact sheet put together by the social media news account Let's Talk Palestine. If you haven't heard of them, then I highly suggest going and checking out their site and giving them a follow. They spread a lot of important information regarding the situation around Palestine. Here's some historical as well as more recent context to the genocide that began in October of 2023. Going back to 1948, the Nakba, or catastrophe in Arabic, refers to the ethnic cleansing of Palestine by Israeli settler colonists with the establishment of the State of Israel. Over 750,000 Palestinians were forcibly displaced and dispossessed. Zionists seized 78% of the historic Palestine, with the remaining 22% now comprising Gaza and the occupied West Bank. By the date of May 15th, which is the commemoration day of the Nakba, more than half of the Palestinians had already been expelled. Zionists destroyed around 530 villages and towns and killed over 15,000 Palestinians in a series of massacres and terrorist acts. David Ben-Gurion, Israel's first prime minister, stated to his cabinet that, quote, no Arab refugee should be admitted back, unquote. Thousands of Palestinians who tried to return, search for loved ones, or harvest their crops were killed. The Israeli government made it illegal for them to return and formalized the expropriation of Palestinian property and expulsion of Palestinians in law, denying them citizenship. This marked the beginning of Israel's apartheid regime. By 1949, Zionists had committed approximately 223 atrocities, including massacres, bombings, lootings, and the wholesale destruction of Palestinian property. Around 150,000 Palestinians remained in areas under Israeli control, with 40,000 internally displaced. All displaced Palestinians were forbidden from returning to their homes. In 1950, 2,500 Palestinians in the city of Majdal were expelled at gunpoint to the Gaza Strip, and the city was renamed Ashkelon. 2,000 inhabitants of Bir el-Sabi were expelled to the West Bank, and 2,000 residents of two northern villages were forced to move to Syria. In Lida and Ramla, an estimated 50,000 Palestinians were forced to march to the West Bank. Refugees in other villages were expelled with mortar fire. The principal purpose of these actions was terror and expulsion. In short, it was ethnic cleansing and constitutes a genocide. For now, I'm going to move on to the more recent events in regards to the genocide and displacement of Palestinians in the 21st century. Many policies have not been changed, and Israel's stranglehold and settler colonization has intermittently intensified over the decades. This history is long and bloody and requires much more than just the summary I have given here, but this should suffice for a decent historical backdrop of what has happened prior to the events of 2023 and prior to the events of October 7th, leading into the 2024 Palestinian genocide. 2023 was already the deadliest year on record for Palestinians in the West Bank before October 7th. 197 Palestinians were killed by Israeli forces in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, including 47 children. The degree of Palestinian displacement by October 5th, 2023, comes out to 9.8 million people out of roughly 14.8 million. These people were already displaced before the genocide began in earnest. There were 7.4 million Palestinians displaced outside of Palestine. 1.5 million Palestinians became registered refugees with the UNRWA in Gaza prior to October 7. And roughly 900 and 1,300,000 Palestinians became registered refugees with the UNRWA in the West Bank. And between January 1st and December 31st of 2023, 1,171 structures were reduced to rubble, destroyed in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. 457 of them were residential structures, meaning homes or apartment buildings. 1,044 children were left homeless due to this destruction. That's just in 1 year. A total of 11,634 total Palestinian structures were demolished since 2009, displacing an approximate 18,800 plus Palestinians. This figure includes homes, commercial properties, and other buildings. There are roughly 9,900 plus Palestinians taken hostage in Israeli custody as of September 2024. This includes 240 children in Israeli custody, and also includes 1,761 plus from Gaza as of June 2024. There are also 3,332 Palestinians held in administrative detention without charge or trial, so essentially held in concentration camps. This figure includes 75 children from the ages 12 to 17 in concentration camps as of June 2024. Prisoners are held by a legitimate authority, per the 2024 ICJ advisory opinion. Israel's occupation of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip is illegal and thus lacks legitimate authority, and is a hostile invading force which takes Palestinian hostages for political ends. There is no justice of any kind being carried out here. One key feature of a genocide is the separation of children from families within ethnic groups, and the Israeli government has done extensive work to smash families, destroy their homes, and murder children in open air. This is considered state-sponsored child separation and as cultural genocide. The same thing occurred in Rwanda, where children who survived the civil war and genocide suffered in refugee/concentration camps, very similar to what the United States does to children and families at the southern border via ICE, as well as the likes of Israel towards Palestinian children. Now, we are going to be getting into the death toll, both direct death counts as well as those caused indirectly by the leveling of Gaza's infrastructure, planned and targeted starvation, and bombings of healthcare facilities, one famously being the Al-Shifa Hospital, which I have covered on the channel previously. The Lancet study estimated the Gaza death toll at around 186,000 or more. Officially, around 51,802 plus Palestinians have been killed directly as of October 4th, 2024. This figure includes 41,802 counted by the Gaza Health Ministry and includes 16,500 children murdered directly by Israel. More than 10,000 Palestinians are buried underneath rubble and presumed to be dead. Around 96,844 plus are injured as of October 4th, 2024. Personally, I am more likely to quote the 186,000 count, since the official count to me is just far too low to be reasonable at this point. And to put those numbers in perspective, for anybody who may even have the semblance of sympathy for Israel at this point, there are accounted 1,675 Israelis killed. This number includes deaths from confrontations with Lebanese resistance fighters. Though, at this point, Israeli deaths are absolutely not the focus of this video, and frankly, I could not be asked to care, because there is absolutely no justification for the genocide of Palestinians, to the extent, length, duration, and intensity that they have suffered since the beginning of their occupation of their homeland that began in 1948. The sum total of deaths due to indirect causes is a far larger figure. Historically, most genocide victims are killed by indirect means, and the true measure of such a kill count can never be known definitively, as the standards for identifying bodies and counting kills has changed depending on the genocide in question. The estimated total deaths uses a multiplier between 3 and 15. Using this methodology, the projected total death toll of the Gaza genocide ranges between a minimum of 155,406 deaths and a maximum of 777,030 deaths. This means that between 6.7% and 33.66% of Gaza's pre-genocide population of 2.3 million has been or will be wiped out soon. 96% of the population faces acute food insecurity, with 2.15 million people in crisis levels of hunger. 22% of the population, which is an approximate 495,000 Palestinian people, are at risk of famine. 3,000 malnourished children were at risk of death in June of this year, and it's only gotten worse since then. 1.9 million civilians have been forcibly displaced, which is around 90% of Gaza's population, at least once since the start of the genocide. 75,000 plus tons of bombs have been dropped on Gaza, surpassing the combined destruction of Dresden, Hamburg, and London during World War II as of April 2024. These bombs have collectively unleashed 4.6 times of the explosive force of the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. More than half of Gaza's homes are damaged or destroyed. 80% of commercial facilities, 85% of schools, and 65% of road networks have been damaged. 65% of cropland has been destroyed, severely impacting food supplies. 902 Palestinian families have been entirely erased by the Israeli military occupation, removing them from the civil registry by killing all of their members during a year of genocide. 986 healthcare workers were killed as of September 30th, 2024. Only 13 to 17 out of 36 hospitals reported to be partially functioning, none of which are fully functioning. 995,000 plus cases of acute respiratory infection have been reported as of August 2024, as well as 577,000 cases of acute watery diarrhea have also been reported. 350,000 plus individuals with chronic conditions such as diabetes and cancer lack access to treatment as of November 2023. So many more have died since this figure was given in regards to those with chronic conditions. 70 to 80% of those admitted to hospitals have lost limbs or suffered spinal cord injuries as of February 2024. 16,500 plus children have been murdered by the Israeli government. 21,000 children are reported missing. This figure includes 17,000 unaccompanied and separated from their families. Around 4,000 are missing under rubble. 3,000 children who are malnourished were at risk of death in June 2024. More than 10 children per day, on average, lost one or both of their legs since October 7th. This was the rate as of January 2024. The number of children killed in Gaza in just 4 months exceeds the total number of children killed in the last 4 years of global wars combined as of March 2024. Around 174 journalists have been killed by Israel in Gaza since October 7. 72 out of 99 journalists killed worldwide in 2023 were Palestinians, making 2023 the deadliest year for media workers in a decade. Around 90,000 enrolled university students lost access to education due to the partial or total destruction of all universities in Gaza. 93% of Gaza's 560 schools have been either completely erased or damaged as of August 2024. 500 plus bodies have been recovered from mass graves at hospitals, with reports of mutilation and torture as of May 2024. In the West Bank, since October 7th, at least 719 Palestinians have been killed, including over 160 children. More than 5,700 Palestinians have been injured, and since the start of 2024, Israeli occupation authorities have demolished 1,330 structures in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, displacing approximately 3,349 people. 23.7 square kilometers of Palestinian land was seized in 2024, the highest in over 20 years, with 700,000 plus Jewish settlers having taken up residence in more than 300 illegal settlements across the occupied West Bank and East Jerusalem. Every hour in Gaza, based on the November 2023 estimates, 15 people are killed, including 6 children. Every hour, 35 people are injured. Every hour, 42 bombs are dropped. Every hour, 12 buildings are destroyed. And the U.S. has sent over $111 billion in aid, in arms, in sales to Israel in the last year. This is in addition to the annual fixed aid, where under a 10-year agreement spanning 2018 to 2028, Israel receives an annual minimum of $3.8 billion worth of funding from the United States. There is no justification for this violence. It is the result of monopoly capitalism's need for endless expansion. It is a result of Western, American, and European imperialism and its uncompromising drive for profits. War, land, expulsion, resource extraction, labor exploitation, labor and racial subjugation, and death. Now is the time for people to wake up to the realities of the nature of the capitalist system, that there is no solution that involves making peace with the bourgeoisie. The war aims of liberal bourgeois politicians are paving the way as we speak for even greater fascism to take hold in all of the capitalist core countries. Now is the time for resistance, to aid in the fight against imperialism, to aid organizations that are fighting directly against the aims of the capitalist state. It is now more than ever that Americans need to stop sucking from the teat of consumerist capitalist hypnosis, to put an abrupt end to the hegemonic war policy of the United States government and its puppet organizations such as Israel and NATO, so that a communist future can begin. We must work together as workers, as peasants, as proletariat, the little guys who are forced to slave away in order to survive in an economic system that oils the mechanisms and gears with the blood of Palestinians and resistance fighters all across the globe. Boycotting companies who support Israel is not enough. Voting in the next election for your preferred brand of genocidal murderer is not enough. It is not the way. What we need is an organized, class-conscious mass movement to forcibly take the reins of the state away from the bourgeoisie and capitalist landowners, away from the military-industrial complex leaders and Christian Zionists bent on the destruction of the Palestinian people. Because Palestine will never be free until we are all free.